again. This time we've got the latest in the Marvel Bishoujo line, Spider-Woman, the very brilliantly colored Spider-Woman. First of all, here she is, and there is the box. Let's start with the box. Box, you have the art by Shinya Yamashita. It is different than the sculpt turned out. There's a few differences. One, which seems to be a point of contention for people, is the pattern on her costume, how it comes down in between her boobs and comes up underneath. There's a black line that goes right there between her breastises, and that seems to have vanished in the sculpt here. So you can see there's nothing there. What is there instead is this stretch fabric that goes in between her boobs, and they're kind of pulling the costume apart. And there's no black line there. It almost looks as if the black line goes in between them, but that doesn't make sense because the material is there connecting them. So kind of weird where that black line went to. I'm guessing they put the black line there, and over the stretched material didn't look right, so they got rid of it. Not a big deal. I think this is one of these details that people won't even notice if you don't mention it to them. But, people like me, and I think the people that buy these figures kind of scrutinize them a little bit and kind of really pay attention to all the details that a company like Koto puts in. It's a good figure. I dig it, despite a small, I don't even know if you can call it an error. I think, really, you turn her to here, and no one knows the better. Done deal. But anyway, there is the box. Nothing spectacular here. Same formulaic box they always use. And there's Jubilee. I know that Jubilee is, some people like her, some people hate her. Some people say she's the worst X-Man, etc. I don't know about all that stuff. I like me some Jubilee. I always have. And I'm really looking forward to this Bishoujo statue. Shinya did a great job on the illustration for her. I hope that the figure ends up living up to it. She does have a kind of a certain something about her face that Shinya is really good at that sometimes gets lost in the sculpt, and I hope that doesn't happen. One thing I have to gripe about a little bit is her shades. She doesn't have the Bret Hart visor shades. She's got whatever these are. I feel like that's, I don't know, it's not a deal breaker, but, I don't see how these are better than the visor, but whatever. So here's the description if you want to read it. There you can. Alright. Everything else about the box is pretty straightforward. Since she's a smaller figure, the box is in turn smaller. There we are. This is also sculpted by someone named MIC. I'm not sure who that is. If you know who that is, if they've sculpted something I'd be familiar with, let me know in the comments. But I'm not sure who that is. So there's the box. Pretty standard issue stuff. Looks good. Here's Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. So I dig this figure a lot. It's a little on the small side for two reasons. One, the fact that she's crouched down deeper than any other Bishoujo statue we've had so far. All the other ones, Psylocke's probably the lowest, but Psylocke is a bigger figure. I feel like during my Psylocke review I may have mentioned that she was a little bigger than I was anticipating. She's maybe a little smaller than I was anticipating. She still seems in scale, like she's a smaller character than someone like Psylocke. Like she's just a smaller person, but that's okay. That's like I've always said, scale should mean that some characters are taller than others if it is scale. She comes on this pretty generic base. The web design is okay, but she doesn't spin webs. Spider-Woman, even though she's called Spider-Woman, isn't really like a spider at all. It goes with the theme in as much as she is Spider-Woman, but it's not like she would be sitting on a web. She doesn't do that. In fact, she flies and shoots like energy blasts. She has energy projection powers. I'm not sure how that pertains to spiders, but that's what Marvel went with. But we're not here to talk about Jessica Drew. The character and her backstory. We're going to talk about this representation of her. So one thing about the base before I move on is that, you know, they showed off Spider-Girl in the art, the original art, even though it's missing from this illustration here. She was kind of, actually I'm not sure if it was in the art or not. Now that I think about it, I don't remember seeing it in the art exactly. But anyway, earlier sculpts of her had her on a concrete column that was like busted down, and she was perched on top of it. That would have been a lot more interesting than this. I don't even want to see spider webs when it comes to Spider-Woman. I guess maybe they figured people would want to see that they would buy a statue called Spider-Woman even if they're not very familiar with the character and understood what her powers are. Who knows? But here we are. Would have preferred the column. They also, on the column, if they'd done that, would have had plenty of space to store her extra face, just like this one does. So there's her unmasked face, and it's pretty weird looking, as you would expect without a face attached to it. So to attach it, let's go ahead and put her back on her base real quick. She just pegs in here. She's got these, you know, these shaped pegs, so that you don't really have an option about how she goes on there. I don't know why you'd want to change it, but you could. She comes with instructions that are in the box I'm not going to get out, but it basically shows you can pull the head off. You can pull her bangs off. Her bangs here have a couple of tabs, one at the top and one on the side here. They seem thick enough. They seem pretty sturdy. Doesn't seem like they're going to give. They come off pretty easily. It feels like they're sculpted well enough that you don't have to be too careful when you do this. You're just not going to want to wrench on it, which I think should be obvious. That looks really weird. I say there's a third option: masked, unmasked, and unfaced. Yeah, that's the stuff nightmares are made of. So it's like a Dick Tracy villain. This is also kind of weird. She's got hair on her when her head's gone, so that's kind of weird. Here's the other face. It's not magnetic like Harley's swappable face is. It just plugs on there. Nice snug fit. It's not going to pop off on you, you can tell. And bam. Looks pretty good. There is a little bit of a seam in between her hair as it goes near her face, but you really can't see it. They did a good job with that. So here she is without her mask. Pretty nice. I mean, it's super obvious it's still Spider-Woman, so like you don't need the mask. As far as the mask goes, I'm a little disappointed with it. I kept seeing pictures of it, and I was hoping that the final one wouldn't come out like this, but the eyes, there's no sculpt detail to the eyes at all. It's just the mask that wraps around. It's almost as if it's being pulled across her face, and the details of her eyes themselves, the shape of the eyes, don't come through in the mask. That's okay, but it looks very plain as a result. And given that it's nice and shiny, it kind of makes the mask look a little cheap, even though that's the texture of the paint and the rest of the costume. But given the shiny plastic, and no sculpting details in the eyes themselves, it kind of makes the face look a little cheap without it when the light hits it. But you know, if that's a problem for you, you got a whole other face to deal with, or no face at all if you're a weirdo. I like the pose. It's not particularly Spider-Woman-y. She doesn't do a lot of spider-like things like Spider-Man does. She's you know, her powers are kind of more like energy based. She flies, so she doesn't do a lot of this crouching stuff. But as the as the Bishoujo line goes, I'm not sure how many you're going to get to that can possibly do a pose like this. So if you want, they have to do a variety of poses. You can't stick them all on a shelf together and have them all look exactly the same, doing the same thing. In my opinion, they're all pretty similar as it is. They've done so many that they some of them look pretty similar. So I'm all for a different pose, even if in this case it doesn't really suit the character. The pose though is very nice. I like it a lot. It kind of tends to accentuate everything, and that's not a bad thing. Oops. The paint is very vibrant. It's very shiny, as you can see. Everything's glossy except for her hair. This here is her webbing is glossy. It's also got kind of a reflective, like a metallic white paint in it that tends to dissipate towards the end, just like her hair does. Her hair actually seems, I don't know, it's very light at the ends. More so than I feel like than any other Bishoujo, with at least with dark hair, certainly. I'm trying to think of the other ones that I got that do it, that go this light at the ends. I can't think of any. It's very, very light colored at the ends, but that's fine. So, as far as the sculpt goes, they didn't get the you know, Shunya drew a different body than this, at least when it comes to her chest. The details in between here that are pulling the fabric apart, it's nowhere in there, and they also seem a little bigger than they do in the illustration, just a little bit. But again, I'm not gonna lose sleep over that one. So pretty cool. I gotta say, I do kind of dig all the detail they put in her. For instance, the webbing underneath her arm here, they probably could have gotten away with just not even putting that in there, but they did. And I can appreciate that. But she looks good. She looks a little, you know, she's got that I don't know, that bend in her torso that looks like it would be painful. But, you know, she's a superhero, and this is what she does. Well, I think it's not what she does, but this is what a spider-type woman would do, so it's suitable. But pretty cool. I gotta say, there are opportunities here for some different poses, if you were so inclined. I am not. But I was thinking actually about, since I'm running out of shelf space, possibly mounting her to the in-between, the bottom, the underside of one of the shelves, like that there. Again, not very Spider-Woman-y, but, you know, what are you going to do? Probably won't do that, but I am running out of space pretty quick here. I'm gonna have to do something else than what I've got. All right, so let's do some size comparison. Let's get rid of the box. So here is, I lost a light. There's Psylocke, and I think Psylocke is a little bigger than Bishoujo have been. She feels larger, and Spider-Woman feels smaller. So if you have Psylocke, and I think you should, if you're interested in these Bishoujo statues and you don't have Psylocke, you are wrong. So side by side, she does seem a little small, but she's not so small that it feels wrong. Their faces and their heads seem about the right, like, similar size. Like, they're not that different. It just looks like she's a smaller girl than Psylocke, which I don't know if that makes much sense. I don't know. I'm not sure how tall either of these characters are supposed to be. Psylocke does seem pretty tall for an Asian woman. You know, if you use the art of racial stereotypes and apply them to how tall these characters should be, I think Spider-Woman probably should be the taller. That's about as close as I can get the two of them together. And then we have Mystique. And Mystique, she's pretty low to the ground too, but I don't know. Looking at the three of them together, it doesn't seem like she's too small to me. So I think if you've seen pictures online and maybe she doesn't seem like she's maybe not quite that big, most of it is attributed to her pose, the fact that she's more or less doubled over from her shoulder to her knee. That, you know, if you think about how long this thigh is from her knee to the back of her butt, that's about as long as Mystique's is. But it's just a different pose. And for me, I like it. I think I've said that enough, that it's the pose. And then there's Rogue. And Rogue is of the smaller scale. And I think it's obvious here that Rogue is smaller than Spider-Woman. I think that looks pretty obvious, I think. Yeah. So, a little on the small side, but still seems in scale. No issues there. The paint on mine is more or less flawless. I forgot to mention that. A couple of little things here and there. There are some spots where the paint had maybe like a little piece of lint in it or something. About there, you can see a little couple of things there. There's also a little speck of black paint missing from her thumb, but you're not going to see that. See if I can. There it is. You're not going to see that when you have her posed there. That's fine. I don't know. I seem to have gotten one without any weird flaws or anything like that. All the paint details there. See on her legs there, and it does seem like it just kind of ends right here. So that's kind of weird. But it looks okay from the top down here. You're not really. It looks like it blends, so no big deal. I like this one, I gotta say. And I had her set up here without her mask, and that looks fine. But luckily, you have options, and it's always good to have options. I'll never complain about having a choice. I can just go with whichever one I feel like. I do like the mask look though. All right, so that goes up underneath her base there. The base is somewhat translucent. You can kind of see her through the base there. When the base is on a shelf or some such, you don't really see through it. No light really gets through it, but there you have it. Well, that'll do it for now. All in all, I think this is a good figure, but I think they're all good. I love these Bishoujo statues at this point. I really can't get enough. If they release them, I will be buying them in almost every instance. It's not an instant buy, but that Jubilee illustration looks really good. And trying to think who's next that would be coming out. I'm drawing a blank. But the Freddy and Jason ones were announced, or not announced, they were previewed in their final sculpt, I'm assuming. At least maybe not final, but a preview sculpt, and there's pictures of them up online, and you can check those out. You can find those pictures, if you want to look at them, on my Tumblr. I'm also still playing with the idea of doing a Facebook, but that remains to be seen. And thanks for watching. I'll have more videos of things that I get as I get them. I feel like doing reviews for them. But subscribe. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. That kind of keeps me motivated to keep posting these videos. And leave comments. Tell me what you think. If you're going to pick her up. If you have her on pre-order. What do you think of the pose? Is it very Spider-Woman-y? Let me know. And we shall discuss. Thanks for watching.